What is up, everybody? This is Marshall Lee of DonkeyJawProjects.com, and today is the 15th Early Bird Artcast. How you guys doing? I am doing all right. So let's see. Got a little reference up here, and I'm going to do some drawing. Hopefully, I'm adjusting my mic right now so that it's in an advantageous place. So yeah. Um, Basically, you may or may not have noticed, but yesterday I started a um, a new Instagram. Another new thing Marshall's starting. What else is new? um, that being said, you know, it's not just kind of a quick thing. I'm not changing anything else that I'm doing. I mentioned yesterday that I am continuing with the Patreon initiative. You know, making one comic every month and putting it on Patreon for my patrons. So thank you to my patrons for supporting. Um, and it'll also be on Gumroad, sort of, not always. Like this month, this comic, it will be on Gumroad, but I think I'm gonna wait till the story's actually finished. So when I finish this month, it's gonna be a to be continued situation. Um, and you know, I gotta remember to put in the gesture here. So I'm not gonna actually release it on Gumroad until I get it fully finished, which I think I'm gonna just continue with it next month. So it will be still in about a month. Um, anyways, that being said, why did I start a new Instagram? I already got something good going with my other Instagram. I got a decent amount of followers, all that fun stuff. Well, as has happened in recent months, I had some hardships with money, and that hardship kind of is still going on. I got some good support, from friends, and everybody kind of came out and helped me out, and that was really cool. I'm still fulfilling a couple of those things, working on it. But, things have still kind of continued to a certain degree. And, I got to kind of dig myself out of a hole. Um, so, that being said, I need to try to find some supplemental income. Just getting little commissions here and there can only do so much. Um, I mean, I need to basically do some illustration work, see if I can drum up some actual illustration business, typical like freelance work. And I'm also doing other things in my life. I might be getting a new job and whatnot. I don't know. That's going to take some time. But yeah, I'm at a point where things are pretty dire, so I need to try to do whatever I can, to make some more money. And so I don't really want to continue to like bother, you know, my typical fan base, for that kind of thing. I appreciate anybody who wants to commission me and stuff. That's cool. We can work on that. But I want to see if I can get some actual like, illustration work. And I've had this plan for a while actually, but it's just like I'm working on my comics and I never kind of get to it. But I do, you know, people usually only see, my kind of comic work and it's more cartoony and it's not like super, detailed, or it's not meant to like be super impressive. It's just meant for me to like tell some cool stories and whatnot. And cool, that's cool. And I do want to get to the point where I'm doing really impressive work with that, anyways. But you know, I don't spend a lot of time doing you know other things that I can do that might attract you know people to hire me. And so I had this idea to create this Instagram account, kind of start with that. And I called it Zillustrations. I was just trying to come up with a fun name for it. And so, I started that up last night. I already have 52 or something followers last time I checked. That's one thing I actually really enjoy, building up Instagrams. I've learned a lot of things, and I feel like I can do that pretty well. So I'm gonna try to be working on that, and I'm kind of targeting like you know people like musicians and stuff. Maybe they'll want to do album covers or some promotional work. Um, a lot of hip hop stuff, just stuff that's in my wheelhouse, stuff that I kind of understand because I've been involved with music, hip hop music for a long time. Um, so just starting with kind of what I know, and then I'll branch out from there. But so I'm gonna start trying to do some illustrations as I continue to do my comics, and see if I can drum up some business with that. And so the link is in the description for Zillustration Instagram if you want to check it out. And today I'm drawing Snoop Dogg. So I'm gonna just kind of do like portraits and stuff, and see if anybody's interested in kind of hiring me to do that kind of stuff. Hopefully on a digital level. Um, but if it's enough money, it is worth it to do maybe some physical stuff. But I really don't want to do more than just pen and ink when it comes to physical. I don't, that's like my best strength really. Um, so yeah, I'm doing Snoop Dogg, and the reason why I'm doing him first is because there's a few different things, but he was kind of the first rapper that I like kind of copied when I decided I wanted to make rap music. And so like the first one of the first raps I ever made was totally like kind of a copy from one of his rhymes, but kind of changed or whatever. So that was kind of fun. And people really liked it, and it was just interesting that I started out that way. And also there's this one thing like in one of his songs that I think of from time to time, because I'm not this way. I'm not very money oriented. I don't think of it. I don't want to deal with it. It's just I'd rather just not get into it. But to be a responsible adult, I have to make some of that money. So there's just one stupid line in that Gin and Juice song, and he's not even saying it. I think it's Daz who says it, but it's in the hook, and um, it just says, "I got my mind on my money and my money on my mind." And I don't know. It's just I always think of that, so I'm kind of putting that in there because that's what I'm dealing with right now, trying to drum up some extra funds to survive. Basically, and feed my family, feed me, you know, and keep the rent up to date and all that fun stuff. So, anyways, that's my little beginning morning spiel. That's what I'm up to right now. I'm still working on the comic for sure. I'm still going to continue with these early bird Artcasts. They're they're becoming a really cool thing. And yeah, I'm just going to work as hard as I possibly can to make this stuff happen. And with that being said, we have another awesome artist, a guest on right now. What's up,
Hello.
Teresa?
I was just quiet and listening. It's like I don't
Yeah,
want to interrupt him.
yeah, no problem. I just kind of wanted to do my little beginning spiel real quick, and
Yeah,
then I
yeah, that's
figured
cool.
we'd hang out.
No, yeah, I saw your Instagram this morning.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah, I
sir.
started following you. It's looking really cool.
Thanks. Yeah, I tried to throw in some some just some of my old work that kind of relates more towards what I'm going for with that. So yeah, thanks. I'm glad you liked it
Yeah,
and stuff.
yeah. Portraits are like my um, nemesis. I cannot do portraits. I cannot get any likeness whatsoever from faces. So
Yeah,
it's very impressive when you do it. It's like I don't know. I find it so interesting how we all have these different things that we're good at, and your
yeah.
portraits are very accurate. I mean,
Oh well, thanks. I mean, it is difficult. Like right now, I'm still not quite getting a likeness, but I am at the early stages here. But yeah, it's not easy, but it's fun. I think the main thing that kind of sometimes might trip me up is just like now this might be difficult because I'm actually trying to do it so I can like make money. I want it to look good. Like the ones that
oh
I've
yeah,
done that have looked good a lot of times are like um just me playing around and then like, oh, this is actually looking what it's supposed to look like. Cool, I'll post it. Now I'm like trying to make it happen. So we'll see how that goes.
yeah, yeah. I get that completely. It happens a lot when I say like, oh, I'm gonna make the best comic page ever, and suddenly I'm not even able to draw the simplest thing.
Yeah,
I can't even get a straight line to draw the panel or something basic.
yeah,
That pressure doesn't work for me. Some people find it useful, it motivates them, but for me, it completely disables. Like I don't know, it's like total system shutdown. I need to tell
yeah. It's
myself that I'm gonna do my best rather than I'm gonna do it perfectly.
right. Yeah, yeah. That's definitely I think a good tactic. And yeah, I don't know. I do the same thing. Like sometimes like I'll make a piece of art and I'm like, oh man, this is so cool. Like I now this is my standard from now on. I want everything to look this good. And then the next one is just like, "Wah, wah. You don't know what you're doing."
Go back to wherever you came from. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. And that's what I find very difficult about portraits. Like there is such a pressure. I feel very pressured when I'm doing any sort of portrait or likeness exercise because there is a reference, there is a right and wrong. Whereas when you're doing cartooning, I suppose there is a right and wrong, as in are you conveying the idea that you're trying to communicate, but that's about it. There's not
mm,
like a right answer. But in portraits, it feels like there is a right answer and a wrong answer.
yeah. Well, I mean, if it's not looking like what you're trying to make it look like, then that's the wrong answer, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. So there's no space for
Unfortunately.
happy accidents and things like that.
Yeah.
That's why I don't I
Yeah.
don't really go into it.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, I tend to be able. The thing is, the big the big thing that helps me do it okay sometimes is years ago I had a drawing class, like a college drawing class. I tried to go to college for art a couple times, but couldn't afford it. But so I went to a couple class. I didn't even get to finish this class actually. I didn't couldn't afford it. It was crazy. But you know, the biggest thing I learned from that class was, and I think this is the type of thing you would learn in drawing from the right side of the brain. But the biggest thing I learned was to draw what I see and not what I think I see. And
Yeah,
so, I literally almost like a photocopier. You're literally just trying to put the exact lines down that you see, and not focusing on like the whole piece. Or I don't know. It's really a weird state of mind, or a different state of mind than what I was typically used to. Growing
yeah,
up trying to be an artist. But
yeah, yeah,
it definitely works. You try to do it that way, and then you kind of you get into the detail, and then when you take a step back and look at it, you're like, holy crap, this actually looks kind of good. I don't know how that happened, but
yeah. Yeah, yeah. Like I never took any art class lessons officially, not even in high school. We didn't have art in my high school. It was music we did.
Hmm.
So like compulsory, it's a compulsory in Spain to do one art during
Hmm.
basic education, but the high school kind of decides which one they're gonna offer. And in my case, it was music. And so the only time I've been to any art education center type thing, it was I for 6 months I went to like an atelier type school where you draw the statues. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I don't think I know exactly what you mean, but
So it's like the classical art training where you have statues like some reproduction of the of the the whatever some classic statues, the Venus, the Milo, or something like that, some Roman and Greek statues, right?
Mhm.
And they have them there in the school, and what you do is you draw them. You just get some, a pencil, well, not a pencil, you get that charcoal thing and you draw them. And it's exactly what you're saying. It's like you have to look at it and draw what you see. And
Yeah.
it is true that it's quite amazing because when you're focusing on drawing what you see, in the end it does look like the statue, and you're like, oh, holy crap, I did draw that statue. But you have to kind of, it's a very strong state for me, paying attention to detail, because I'm not the type of person that pays attention to detail. um,
Mm.
I'm more of a generalist. I just look at the whole picture rather than, you
Yeah,
know
it's weird. It's a weird way because I don't think of myself as a detail oriented person, which I don't know if that's really the same thing or not. But like, I can get kind of fixated on detail to a certain degree as well sometimes. So I don't know. I do actually struggle probably more with what you're talking about with the kind of general stuff. Like, um, I can get too focused on the detail, and I have a hard time cartooning. That's why, like, I always say, like, when I see people like your stuff and like Chris McQuinlan and stuff, like the way you guys like kind of interpret what you're seeing in a cartoony way, it amazes me, and I know I can do it too a little bit, but I really look up to people who do it really well, like you guys. And, you know,
yeah.
that's an amazing skill as well.
Yeah, it's a completely different skill. Like what you're saying is true. Like when you're cartooning, you are looking for big shapes and like basic things that you can simplify.
Hmm.
But when you are doing portraiture, it's all about, like, the likeness will come from the difference between putting that shadow there or that shadow a millimeter to the left.
Yeah.
Those little differences are what marks the difference in a portrait. And I think that's what I struggle with, because my mind, like you say, always goes to the simplify. This is a circle, this is a triangle, this is that's what kind
Hmm.
of comes natural to me. Which makes me think, this whole talk about talent and whether people have talent for art. I don't think there's such thing as a talent for art. Like some people have a talent for recognizing shapes, other people have talent for
Mm.
seeing the little differences, and like depending on what your talents are, you'll be good at one thing or another. But I don't think there's someone entirely devoid of talent for art.
So it's almost like you're. It's like not are you talented at art, but what kind of mode of art are you talented in?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's what I think. That's how I like to think about it.
Interesting. I never thought of it that way, but that does make sense. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, there was a when I was in those 6 months I was in the atelier, I did see a lot of differences between people, and those differences were really interesting. Like for instance, there was this girl, I remember talking to her, and she was like, "Man, I love your statues. They're so simple. They're so accurate, but so simple." And it's like, man, I love your statues, because we were all drawing the same statues. That's how it works. It's like, I love your statues. Your shadows and everything is so good. And then the teacher explained to us that there are two types of brains. And like painters tend to have this brain where what they perceive is texture and color and shape, whereas people that are more like cartoonists or drawers or whatever, they tend to perceive immediately like the lines. They see lines and and we were talking, and it was amazing. Like, if you look at that shelf, I was telling her, what do you see? And if I see a shelf, obviously what I'm seeing is the lines of the books, and the shelf in itself is all lines to me. I see it very clearly. And she was like, well, what I see is the texture of the wood. That's the first thing I perceive. And it's like, the texture of the wood? Like, it would have never crossed my mind. Like, it didn't. It was amazing. Talking to her, I realized, like, people are so different and they see things so different. It's insane.
Yeah. I tend to get overwhelmed, I think, like when I see it because, you know, like I don't know, like when like you're saying you see the lines and when I look at something, in real life there is no lines really, there's all these like it's almost like there's colors like the reference I'm looking at right now, there's parts where the background blends in with the figure, and so there's no line there. It just almost looks invisible, but you know that like the arm is there, even though you can't see that line. So there's all these little spots here and there that don't that that don't actually have a line. So I have to find a way to put a line there, or stuff that just I don't see in the picture that I have to kind of imagine. And so it gets overwhelming to cartoon because it's like, well, I don't see cartoon lines. I see realistic shapes and figure, and it's kind of ambiguous, and I have to find a way to interpret that. So it actually gets kind of overwhelming, if I'm trying to
Oh, wow.
make it more of a cartoon.
Maybe, I don't know. Maybe it's related to how well you see, because I don't see very well at all. Like, I wear glasses. I don't see very well, so maybe it's just I don't perceive those details. And for me, it's just, oh, yeah, it's a circle, because I don't see it clearly.
That's
Maybe,
interesting because, like, I think, you know, when sometimes, like, I can't find a good reference for something, and there'll be like a blurry reference. And sometimes I'm actually like, okay, that's even better because then I don't have to like get overwhelmed by all these kind of nuanced details. I can just kind of make some stuff up, and I don't know, like sometimes that's even better to interpret stuff with. And I mean, I do have really good sight. I've always had really good sight, luckily. um, I'm curious though, like even with your glasses, do you still s- like with your glasses, do you have good sight, or is it still
no,
kind of not so great?
kind of not so great either way.
Not really.
Um, it's because even like the glasses correct your well, basically, when I wear my glasses, I don't have any official deficiency with my eyesight, but my
Hmm.
brain still doesn't process the images very well.
Huh.
So it's all blurry and weird. Anyway, even
Oh
with my
man,
glasses.
that's crazy. I don't know. It's funny. When I was younger, for some reason, I just kind of wanted glasses. I saw other kids with glasses on and stuff, so I was like, oh, it's kind of cool. This is when
Yeah,
I'm like really young or whatever,
we were
and
just
like,
too cool for you.
yeah, it was like in kindergarten or nursery school. So, or maybe even first or second grade, I don't know. But like, so when I went in for the school eye test or whatever, I actually flubbed it on purpose because I wanted glasses.
No way.
So, um, you know, but then it got real, and like I had to go to the doctor to like check it out even more. And when I got like that scared me. So when I got to the doctor, like I did it right or whatever, and they're like, "No, this kid has good sight or whatever." And my mom's like, "That's weird. I wonder why." And I'm like, "My bad."
Did you confess?
Um, Eventually I did. I don't remember if I did it right on the spot or not. I forget.
Oh wow! I did the opposite actually. When they took me to like my mom knew I couldn't see because I was literally walking around the streets bumping my head into things.
Hmm.
So I would walk into trees and things like that, and my mom was like, "This child can't see," and my dad was like, "No, she's just absent-minded." But no, yeah, I couldn't see. And so they took me to the eye doctor, and when you do the test where you have letters and the first one is
Yeah.
like a massive E, like huge E.
Hmm.
So I went to the eye doctor, and I was like, H. And my dad was laughing like, oh, she's such a joker. She's a really funny child. And it's like, is it not a H? And the doctor was like, are you serious? I couldn't see the E. I was super blind.
Oh wow.
Um, and they were like, how do you go to school? How do you see the board? And I was like, what board?
Oh man, that sounds crazy. But I guess if you've always had not so great sight, you know, you
You don't
just
know
kind
the
of,
difference.
yeah, you don't know the difference, and you just kind of learn how to figure it out your own way, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. You cannot just bump into things. You just get a lot
Wow,
of bruises. Um,
that's
yeah,
so
just because
crazy.
when you're so young, people don't think that you have any problems. Because
Yeah.
I was 5, so people were like, "Oh yeah, she's just But no, I was proper. I couldn't see.
Wow, that's crazy, and it's crazy that people, you know, there's this whole kind of concept of like, everybody's got weaknesses and whatnot, but sometimes your weaknesses actually become, a almost a strength. I mean, I'm not saying I'm sure you would want to have perfect eyesight if you could, um,
It would be interesting.
but like that, like we've said, that may have helped you to become a better cartoonist in some ways.
Maybe
Um,
I like to think he has because otherwise it's just like spending a lot of money on glasses for no reason.
yeah, yeah. I know my wife has glasses, and we haven't been able to pay for her to go to the eye doctor in years. She to the point where right now she's even wearing like her sister's old glasses that are obviously not her perfect prescription, but
Oh
they're
man,
and it's been that way for a while, and you just can't afford it. We haven't been able to afford it for so long. Um, so
that sucks.
yeah, yeah, it does. I don't know how she deals with it. Like, I don't know. I mean, I want to get her, glasses, but I don't know. I'm surprised she hasn't complained more about it.
Yeah, she doesn't she get like headaches and stuff?
Mm, no, not like really. I mean, she, as I've said before, she has a chronic pain issue. It doesn't have anything to do with her glasses, but so that's probably she probably if she does get a headache from it, it's like that's the least of her worries.
Right. I imagine so. Yeah.
I don't know. She would say something though if that was the case. She does get headaches from time to time, but I don't think it's from her glasses.
Yeah. Yeah, that sucks. Yeah, my glasses are so ridiculously expensive. This is the thing, like the more prescription you have and the more problem it is for you, the more expensive they get. And it's like, why?
Oh man,
Like you're disabled and you have to pay for it. My
yeah.
glasses are uh like 500 bucks
Wow.
because they're
I
so
think
thick and ridiculous.
think maybe part of it too is like she, because of her condition, she doesn't, drive, um, and she doesn't, work or whatever. So those, she doesn't kind of need the glasses as much, really.
Yeah.
Um, so I guess maybe that's part of it. But
Yeah.
hopefully things will change and we can get her glasses, though.
Yeah,
I
with your
can't imagine
portraits.
dealing with that. I feel like that would drive me crazy.
Yeah.
Not have the proper prescription.
Yeah. Yeah. So like this is part of like your portraits, are they part of your effort to get some money?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I'm just fighting for rent at this point half the time, but yeah, I hope we can. I mean, I had a possible job opportunity that hasn't panned out yet. That if I'm able to get this stuff, it has to do with my day job. If I'm able to get into this field, though, like I will have good money, like better money than most people, with just typical jobs. Um, but it's like it was supposed to kind of come through a while ago, and I got to push more for it. I think. I mean, I'd
Hopefully.
rather not do that because I want to do art, but it's just you gotta do what you gotta do. So
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Like you have to you have to keep paying your bills, and you know, at the end of the day, what the more time you have, the more time you waste. I do believe in that.
mm,
Like, I have my day job, and I have to pay my bills, and I am and whatever. But I think that if I had all day to do art, I would probably not do as much as I do now.
yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if the same thing would be with me as well. I have had times where I have like a week off, and I'm like, oh man, I'm gonna get so much art done. That people are gonna be like, this is gonna be crazy. Like I can't wait. And then I do a whole lot of procrastinating that week.
Right? Yeah, it is true, isn't it? Like, so don't think that your new job is gonna make you do less art. Maybe you'll find yourself spending your time doing art more efficiently. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean that's even having the day job now. It does tend to be what happens. Now, every chance I have, like there's still even with that, there still is some procrastination that happens from time to time. But for the most part, every chance I have, I try to make art, even to the point where it's, kind of sometimes not doing other stuff I need to do because I'm like, I gotta get this art done. I have a chance to do it now.
Yeah, yeah. It's a whole puzzle, isn't it? Like having a day job and then having art on the side. Because, like, for me, is one of the things that I spend more time trying to manage. It's like, how do I manage the time I have? And I keep doing different things, like listening to productivity podcasts and all sorts. And if I didn't have my job, I don't know if I would take it so seriously, because I think having a day job is just it makes you realize that time is finite and that you have to use it well. Whereas in the summer, when maybe I take a couple of weeks off or whatever, I don't do anything.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, like you waking up early, right? If you didn't have to go to work, would you wake up so early? Would you?
I
I don't think
definitely
so.
sleep in on the weekends a little bit. I mean, not a lot though. I still do try to get up early because again, it's still the same situation. I got to take the time when I can, but yeah, definitely, I wouldn't be probably waking up this early. So
Yeah, so probably when you get this new job, not only will you have more money, but you will be more productive as well.
yeah, hopefully.
Yeah, sure. Why not?
So I know you've. I think you said you finish. Did you finish your school or something? Or I remember a while back you were talking about you were doing your thesis paper and stuff. Did you
Oh
finish
man,
that?
no, I haven't.
Okay.
Still going, still going. I still have. I mean, I want to finish this year. I have until August 2020 to finish, but
Okay.
my aim is to finish this year. And again, it's one of those things where, oh, I have until August 2020 to finish. What do you think I do? Do you think I sit down and write away my thesis? No, I don't. I just think about it. Then I sit down, I write, I erase, delete what I wrote, think about it again.
Yeah. How about the research? Is that still ongoing, or do you feel like you've gotten what you need? Or
Well, I was doing research on the chapter on history of American comics, and that chapter is written. I finished that.
okay.
That's the end. Done and dusted. I'm happy about that. And now I'm doing research on other stuff. But I think I'm hoping that by the beginning of next year, I will have read all the books I need to read and done all the research I need to do, and I will just write it, just write the whole thing.
Yeah, uh, that'll be good.
with anime. But it was really fun, I have to say. Like to give yourself the opportunity and the obligation to research about something you're passionate about is such a privilege. So I don't think about it as something that is an obligation or a burden or something. I just love to do it. I'll be honest. I like to complain about it because complaining is cool or something. But in actual fact, I do love having the excuse of no, I'm not going out today because I have to read about this thing about comics. And it's wonderful.
Yeah, yeah,
My friends are like, you're working too hard, or my family is like, oh, you need to take a rest. And I was like, no, I'm fine. Don't worry about me. But
yeah,
yeah, it was really interesting reading about the history of American comics. It's quite a quite a history.
yeah. Um, I love the history of comics. Like studying it and learning more about it. Um, what are maybe like some surprising things that you learned?
Hmm. Well, like for instance, the origin of the 11 by 17.
Hmm.
Apparently, it was just that there was this. Max Gaines. Well,
Uh,
basically,
I don't know. That sounds.
what's the name of Easy Comics? Do you know Easy Comics, the
Oh
horror?
yeah, yeah, yeah. Is that the
So
guy who was in charge of that?
that was his son who was in charge of Easy Comics.
Right.
But the
Oh
guy
yeah.
that founded Easy Comics, which is short for Educational Comics,
Yeah, yeah.
um, was his dad, and his dad was the inventor of the format. And what happened was that there was the Sunday strips, right,
Hmm.
which were the format that was initially introduced in America. You put strips on the newspapers to attract readers' attention, and so you get your sales up. That was the idea. But what happened was that this guy, Max Gaines, realized that if you fold the newspaper and you fold it again, then you have a little magazine.
Oh,
So the 11 by 17 is simply a newspaper folded in four.
oh wow.
And the only thing the guy did was like fold it in four, staple it, and put it in a newsstand. And that's how comic books emancipated from newspapers. And then his son was the one that said, like, oh, how about we make them horrible instead of educational? And that's where the whole thing went a bit like, oh, comics are evil instead of comics are
Yeah,
educational.
yeah. I listened to that book, 10 Cent Plague or whatever. I think it was
Oh
10 Cent,
yeah, yeah.
which was a really amazing book and definitely went into a lot of stuff with that. But I don't remember that part with the 11 by 17 pages. That's interesting. It's cool.
Yeah, that's actually in a documentary. I saw that he was uh, Max Gaines explaining, or it was his son, I think, how he came up with it. It's on YouTube. It's called oh, I can't remember what it's called, but it's a little documentary on the history of comics. And
Huh.
you have Will Eisner and a lot of people talking in that documentary. It's quite good. I'll give you the link when I remember what it was called.
Yeah, that'd be cool. I'll definitely like to check it out. I love that. I eat that stuff up like crazy when I find it.
Yeah,
It's good
yeah.
stuff.
It just I love how we have comics that is a medium that is so defined, and it feels like it must have been something organized that happened to make them the way they are. But no, it was just a set of coincidences and people trying to get some money here and there. So
Hmm.
it's just interesting to see how it took shape from just a random series of events.
Yeah, I mean that's why I'm really inspired by like the Marvel method and stuff, and um, you know I uh like right now I'm doing one comic story a month and stuff, and it's like I'm not. I keep feeling like a little bit crazy that I'm not trying like I'm not necessarily going for the best work I can do. I mean I want to get there, but I'm really just going for the get a comic out every month. Like that's my goal. And I don't know. I feel like I'm going to learn a lot more that way. And you get into these things like you're saying, like where you kind of innovate by necessity, and you find some interesting ways of doing things that maybe you wouldn't have found, otherwise.
Yeah, doing things the right way will never get you somewhere new.
Yeah. I mean, I totally respect those people who are spending a lot of time doing like world building and writing many drafts, but I mean, I I want to get a lot of work out, and I'm going to be 40 pretty soon. I don't have time to be sitting there writing a million drafts. I make a little bullet point list of my story, and I'm ready to go.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I do that with my current comic. Like, it's discovery writing. Some people call it, where you are writing it and you're like, what should happen next? And you have more or less an idea of where you're going, but you haven't really thought it out very well.
Hmm.
But then on the other hand, I have another comic that I'm writing slowly. So when I finish this one, I'm hoping that the slow cooking one will be ready.
Yeah,
I have both things going on.
that's cool. Yeah, I do want to do that though. I definitely do want to get to the point where I have a chance to do, that, like you said, the slow cooking kind of method, and really just because I do appreciate those works. I mean, Harry Potter, and, Lord of the Rings, and like all this stuff are big parts of what inspire me.
Hmm.
And I want to make something that awesome. But for
Yeah.
now, I need to just churn out some stuff too.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you think about Harry Potter and Lord of the Rings, they lived in the heads of their creators for years and years. Like Tolkien was just scribbling weird elvish languages in a notebook years
Yeah,
before he actually sat down to write the book. So,
yeah.
and the same with, I think, with Harry Potter. She thought about the idea years and years before she actually sat down and wrote it.
Hmm.
But
For
I think
sure.
it's important what you're doing, that while that idea brews, then you have to get some stuff done anyway.
Yeah, for sure. Um, I noticed James was in the chat, and he was saying some things about the technique here. He said that if you're doing digital portraits in Clip Studio, learn the paint and apply brush in your watercolor brushes. It goes from a blender to a solid color, depending on pressure. He said it's handy for skin tones. And then he also said glasses are not as awesome as they seem.
Nope, they're not. We just make them look cool.
That's
Just the
funny.
people.
Yeah. I don't know. I do like how glasses look. But then one thing I notice about glasses too is, and thanks for the tip, James. I'm going to check that out. But one thing I notice about glasses is when I try to draw characters who have glasses, it's always like a pain in the butt. Like it's better to like draw a version of them without glasses if you can.
That's because you don't wear glasses, so you forget to put them on.
Yeah, that happens a lot. Like
I know.
I'll forget that the character has glasses even.
Yeah, this is something that I don't forget. Like one of my main character actually, she wears glasses. And for me, it was
Yeah,
just such an obvious choice. She is the main character, she wears glasses. Because I wear glasses, right? And it is as difficult for me to forget that she wears glasses as it is to forget that she's wearing a t-shirt. It's like, no, that's
that's
how people.
that's funny. Uh, so yeah, I'm getting into a little bit. This is the thing I struggle with is I get into too much detail. Like here, I'm like I didn't even really know if I wanted to get into all these little hatch lines or not, but I started and now I'm doing it. So,
Finishing
um,
what you started.
and I always tell myself, okay, give yourself this amount of time and see if you can get a whole illustration done in that amount of time. And no, that it doesn't work that way. I'm gonna end up spending hours on one piece, when I just really wanted to get the whole thing done in an hour.
Man, we're probably like art opposites.
Yeah,
Like my biggest challenge is to stay on one thing for longer because I'm like, yep, done, next, and I'm like, well, I could
but
have actually spent more time on this.
well, that's actually
You
the
know,
problem. Like because I if it takes me longer than one session, I might not even ever come back to it. So I gotta like make sure I come back to this one because there's a purpose for why I'm making this particular drawing. So we'll see. I mean, I come back to my comics, so in theory, I can make myself do it.
right?
And really,
Yeah,
once you're done with like kind of the head, when it comes to something like this, then you can kind of go way quicker with the rest of the body because it doesn't really matter as much when it's this type of thing. It's
yeah, yeah. The likeness will be in the face and the
right.
gesture and stuff. Yeah, but it's so cool that you enjoy doing this. I
Yeah, it is
I don't
fun.
know. I love the fact that different people enjoy different things because then there is a space for me to do what I enjoy without taking somebody else's space. You know.
It's a good point. Yeah, and I do enjoy doing it. It's like meditative. Like I could like if I didn't have, goals and time restrictions, I could just sit here and do this all day, every day. Like it's just fun to noodle around.
Man, that's amazing. Yeah, I could doodle all day. I think that's the thing that I could do all day. Just draw silly little drawings, quick ones. Like right now, that's what I'm doing right now. I'm just because I bought a Posca pen,
Hmm.
right? I don't know if you've tried them,
I
but
haven't, but I think I've heard of. I don't know. The things I've heard that are Posca or whatever are like paint markers. I don't think that's
yes,
what you're talking.
exactly, exactly.
Oh, it is.
So it's a marker that has actual paint inside, and I think it's like chalk paint.
Hmm.
And it's the weirdest thing because um, with paint, I always want to get like a flat texture, right? Sorry,
Hmm.
a flat color. But I also want texture, and that's really difficult. And these ones do it really well because you get the exact same color, is very even,
Hmm.
uh, but then you get like this chalky texture, and I am just loving it. They're so expensive though. I bought one. Like I can afford one pen. I have one color.
Yeah,
But
when I was getting into like graffiti stuff, and a lot of my friends who were like from the UK and stuff, they would use Posca markers and stuff.
yeah, 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 that's true. The little tags and stuff.
Yeah, I mean they would draw on stickers a lot of times, but they would also do like actual graffiti and So I don't know. The paint markers were a big thing. Like we got into all different kinds and stuff. Just like a lot of us comic artists get into the inking pens and stuff. That's what we would
Yeah,
get into.
yeah, yeah. That's actually what I'm using right now. I'm using Posca pen, the one Posca pen I have, and a pocket brush. Just testing things. It's just so rare that I get new supplies that it's such a treat. It's like, ooh, new thing.
Yeah, yeah. I haven't gotten new supplies for a while, but I got the tablet earlier this year, so I think that's been my thing, my new supply for the year.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, well, it's like many supplies at once.
Yep. Um, except for there's some typical pens that I really like to use. So I think I did buy some new ones of those, but about it.
Yeah,
Nothing super exciting.
yeah. It's especially if you just got paid. You
Yeah.
feel like you can afford it, but then you look at the reality at the end of the month. It's like, no, I cannot buy pens every month. Not
Yeah.
realistically.
Yeah. That's one thing we're gonna need to focus on pretty soon. Once we get to the point where we actually have some money to budget, we need to start budgeting better because we've just been kind of going by the seat of our pants with this stuff, and it's not working.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's important to sit down and actually do it. I have my
Gotta grow
Excel
up.
tables and stuff.
You have what?
Excel, the program. Well,
Oh, okay,
actually, Google
gotcha.
Sheets. I don't have Office. Like,
Right.
yeah, I'm always like looking at the budget and going, can I buy any pens? No, not this month. But these
Yeah.
pens are like $3 each.
Wow.
They're really
Yeah.
expensive.
It's like Copics. That's why I don't do Copics because it's just like
Exactly.
no.
Copics are even
I
more
mean,
expensive.
yeah. If you go to like if you try to get them at certain places like Michaels, I don't know if you guys have Michaels, but they're really expensive at Michaels. They're like $6, $7. I think sometimes they
Yeah,
even get
yeah.
up to $8 for one pen, and it's like no, no thanks.
This is not happening. Yes, absolutely. But because anyone that doesn't do art and hears us talking about the fact that we can't buy a pen may think, "Oh my God, they must be living in the streets." It's like, no, you don't understand. These pens are like $10 or something.
Yep. And you need like a set of 65 of them. So
Yeah, unless you're doing a experiment where everything is the same color.
exactly.
Yeah,
Funny.
and it's addictive as well. It's like, oh, I'm gonna get this different shade or that different shade.
Yeah, there was one point where it's like I would go to the art store and like I would get a couple things I needed and I'd treat myself to one Copic pen.
Right.
It's like no, that's not. And so like every time I went, I would get one. So eventually, after months, I'd have like five.
Well, the good thing about Copic pens is that at least they're rechargeable. I don't think these Posca ones are rechargeable at all.
Mm, it's true.
So when it's over, it's over. And here I am, I'm wasting it on doodling. Like using liquid gold in my sketchbook.
Yeah. All right. Well, it's about that time. I did not finish this portrait, but
You
I
will
have
go
to
back to
go
it.
to the day
Yeah.
job. So.
Yeah. Yeah, it has to happen. Right. So enjoy your day. And it's looking really cool. You should definitely go back to this one and finish it.
Thanks. Yeah, and before we go, let's let everybody know. I do have a link in the description for I think your Instagram, but let everybody know where they can find you and what maybe just let them know what your latest thing is or something.
Okay, so the easiest way to find me is to go onto Instagram, and all you need to look for is Teresa, like my name, Teresa underscore DEL_Pilar, as in a pillar. Teresa del Pilar, which is my name, and there you have all the links in my description because I have a link tree, one of those where you get all the links, and that's it. And you can read
Nice.
my comic, which is for free on Webtoons. It's called Graduation Nightmares. And you can tell me what you think about it. And if you love it, tell me about it. And if you hate it, please tell me about it, but on a private comment.
Yeah, definitely go check that out. That was a fun read, so I enjoyed it. So definitely, I would recommend it.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. So yeah, uh, thank you, Teresa, for coming on. We did have some other. We had Daniel Liebert come in also in the Hangouts. I see your comments and Dave Hingley as well. So thanks everybody, James also, everybody who was hanging out with us in the chat, and anybody else, watching on the replay. Um, you guys know where to find me, donkeyjawprojects.com. Zillustrations on Instagram is my new Instagram, but also Marshall Lee _DJP is the typical one. And yeah, that's about it for today. We'll talk to you on the next Early Bird Artcast.
Yeah, thank you, Marsh. Bye
Yep, no
bye.
problem. Anytime.